Um, how are you, Ed?
I'm good. I'm good. Bank holiday, so feeling relaxed.
Yes, and it's a bank holiday and nice weather, and that's the rarity in the UK.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, no, it's good. We had quite a nice warm day yesterday, so as well. So yeah, feel refreshed, ready for a bit of talk about lit and uh, such things. So
Okay,
where are we? I mean, I had to go. We started on some design stuff like logo and things. Um, think that we could benefit from kind of clarifying on the actions side of things, but I had to go at something because I thought the one you came up with was good, but I feel like it needs to just be, I don't know, it's just an aesthetic thing for me. I think it needs to be quite like perfect along those design lines, but really well executed. But that's not really a key thing to cover in this call. This
uh, it's a small detail, but I thought it was looking better than the version I produced, or I got somebody else to produce. So I think it's looking a lot nicer.
cool. Oh,
Uh,
thanks.
but when you actually look at the website, it's the logo. When you scroll down, doesn't look great.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I've still not worked out the banner stuff. So that I guess I think maybe some of my thoughts this week could play into that sort of thing.
Okay,
I
I
might
can
have,
look at that too. But
yeah,
also the bottom banners now appeared again, so that's a hassle.
yeah.
The support for that website have got through to me finally, so I pointed them at the problem, but I haven't seen a result yet.
Okay, cool.
But apart from that, the website's kind of okay. Other related things, YouTube. I've just tried to get on YouTube. For some reason or other, I thought I'd set it all up. It said it was going to be ready in 24 hours, and that was like 5 days ago. I look at it again, and I'm like, it still said it's waiting 24 hours. It's like,
Okay,
what? So
yeah,
then I've tried this other one, and I managed to create, but then I couldn't share it with you. And I'm like, okay, it's different.
mm,
I thought it would be like Hangouts, and it would be really simple and cool. And
yeah,
sadly, it's not.
yeah. Well, I think does Hangouts do the automatic changing between people's faces when they're talking? Because that's what Zoom does itself. Does Hangouts do that if you're
I don't
recording?
know. That's what we were going to play around with. I didn't know if we could get dual cameras or anything, so we were just
Yeah,
going to experiment.
yeah.
But
Well, we can work that out. But yeah, so
well,
this week.
that's what we're hoping to work out today. But sadly, it's going to be postponed for some point later on.
Is the reason for that to try and streamline so you don't have to do a double handle between Zoom and YouTube? Is that the main reason?
Yeah, because basically I have to download Zoom, then I have to upload it to YouTube, which is okay. I don't mind doing that. It only takes a few minutes. But this way at least, and also it's got the live streaming and everything. And I thought, if it's got it all, why not use it?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's not as easy as Zoom. Zoom is just click the button, we're live, press record, that's it.
yeah, yeah, totally. I think it's good, and also like we saw last week, it automatically goes between us as we speak, which is actually really really useful. Because there's no editing at all, pretty much, unless we say something we didn't mean to say and cut the video, which we reserve the right to do. I think, but maybe not. Maybe we just leave it all live for the world. Uh,
Yeah. We're never going to say anything that we shouldn't really say, is there?
well, okay, good point. Good point. I agree. I guess we can always use the very same moment to backtrack profusely. Yeah. So really, as long as we've got ownership of the recordings, we're all good.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, anyway,
All
so
right.
yeah, which is quite a good spirit to approach it with. On the similar kind of thing, um, I had, I guess this week for me, sort of theme wise, was characterized by a conversation I had last Friday with, actually maybe it was earlier in the week, with a guy called Stuart from a company called, or a community called flightgear.org. And he's kind of helped on the open source side of things and contributed a lot of code to them. But they basically do designs of aircraft of any kind, like graphic
Okay.
designs that you can actually fly them. And people, coders help to like build them in virtual space.
Right.
It's pretty amazing, and it's a coder community of guys who are interested in that sort of thing. But it got me into thinking about
Okay.
about credit as a, you know, the idea of currency and things.
Can we charge people to get onto these virtual planes and take virtual holidays, package holidays?
Well, I mean, I think that, you know, there could be, I don't know necessarily, it comes down again to value and what you do value, but there may be people who would do that for just, I don't know, just for a giggle, you know. But it was more about the fact of the porous nature between an open source coder community and the wider community as regards things like democracy and governance and management and that kind of stuff. And what I was thinking was, the conversation got into about, you know, Delic, the site I'm working on, about this idea of how you could potentially, you know, we're looking to pay for artists to get paid and to contribute granular parts to projects and allow them to be visualized and streamed separately from the whole project, and thereby creating some kind of market in remixes and all the rest of it. And also easy pinpointed funding per part. And it just transpired that, because obviously this model has been inspired by things like GitHub anyway, that there could be a similar monetization method for the coders as well. So why would you separate between the coders and the musicians and producers on the front end at a certain level? Like, you, for the UX, you would obviously separate those two things, but for the monetization, why not have the coders working in a way that they are accruing credit for their contributions?
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I thought that Equal Squared could be very useful if somebody had come up with it at the beginning of open source. You know, the open source movement. I mean, that's how we got the internet. It's because people shared basically their code, but there wasn't a way to monetize it. Whereas I think we do now. So yeah, I think in GitHub you could press a button and share that bit of code and take that bit of code and, you know, do things to it. And when you add your stuff, you actually add it with a bit of money, which is a bit odd, but why not? Put in a penny. Here's my version of what the code should be, which is a penny.
And I think that kind of thing, like the Eco Squared model, is a sharing economy where you actually put your money where your mouth is. In a way, it's like, in order to make that an economy that's based on sharing work, you actually have to put money in alongside your contribution. That's the big bugbear for, say, people in the creative industries who are kind of allergic to pay to play, for example. That's a cultural barrier, actually. But
that's because they have. I mean, if you bring up the whole thing about the open source movement, the fact that it hadn't taken over the world, and in fact it all gets packaged by somebody who makes the money, and it's not their code anymore. It's a bit like, wait a minute. So this idea that, oh, we could just kind of like share stuff, and, you know, no, we have to have numbers. We have to have some kind of economic for it, and the way you do that, although it's not absolutely necessary, but yeah, when you supply something, you put in a bit of cash.
Well, I think when you say not absolutely necessary, you might be referring to, and I'm not sure because we've talked about this before, you might be referring to the fact that credit itself could theoretically be decoupled from fiat currency.
Oh, no. Don't want to do that, because then it's just one of these funny things that happens. But what I mean is that you can put it up, for example, right now, you can put up a video on YouTube and it's free. So right now, GitHub, you can put up some code and it's free. It's what Eco Squared does is the sharing.
Yeah.
So you don't have to couple it up, so that when you put the thing in, you have to put in some money. It's like, well, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So right now, on Eco Squared right now, you can create a card. It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that's interesting. Okay, I understand. I think that's a really important distinction to raise for those pay-to-play kind of faithful, because or unfaithful people who don't like it. Because
the unfaithful, the filthy unfaithful.
The reason being, you would pay money anyway to promote. So say, for example, you're doing a gig, you're going to pay for posters, you're going to pay for X, Y, and Z. If you're self-promoting, you still have to do all that. So if you use Eco Squared to self-promote, you're actually doing it in an economic way. And you could see it more as a kind of more kosher version of Facebook advertising. because you're putting money beside your content to get it into the community, and then people share. And again, the mechanism is that people can share, or they can add money and share to more people if they really like it, and it becomes a more organic way of essentially purchasing content, but not purchasing. Sorry, I mean that's the point. It's like the same action. It's the same action as purchasing, because you're putting in money, putting in credit, but the fundamental difference is that you're backing the whole idea and value of sharing, and in doing that you're making it individual transactions between you and the number of friends, possibly even generally even small number of friends you're sharing it with, and it takes on its own natural reach within the network of people who actually value the content, and that's really elegant and valuable. So I think the pay-to-play types hopefully can be convinced by the fact that you share your content for whatever you want, but you can create your content and put it up without having to enter the economic world. But when people want to share it, including yourself, you enter into that sort of currency-backed sharing mechanism.
Yes, that's basically it. I think that's reasonable. And if you want to think about a worse use case or a harder, baked-in community, gamers. Gamers don't want to pay for anything. I was talking to Joe, who's 12. And he plays Fortnite, because everybody's playing Fortnite, and I wish our system was ready for Fortnite. And can they play in tournaments? You see, can they set themselves up to play together? They can, in small teams. And there's some kind of system which he told me, but he hasn't used, where you can set up so you can play in the same server. And so I was like, right, so can you get your classmates, can you get your school to play in the same server, all this kind of stuff? It's like, I think so. And you're like, okay, right. So how would that work in terms of economically? With if we were going to put in a bit of cash in order to get this self-organized player thing. It's going to be top down. Everything that's ever organized is by some sponsor, and then they advertise to you, and then they buy the players, and then the players can get money out of Twitch, all right, but only a few of them top end. Same with YouTube. It's only the people that get quite successful end up with YouTube adverts, and they're selling themselves in effect. And we're saying, look, and I've spoken to another games player, and I said, where's all the money going? And he was like, I don't really know, apart from adverts. And I said, what happens if you could, would you pay a penny or 10p for watching these players that you think are good? He was like, oh, yeah, I guess I could. And would you pay to play, a tournament? And then you distribute the money. And that means we have no big organizations and companies owning anything. It's all player-led, participatory. And he was like, yeah. But to set that up, okay, with a community, with a bunch of players, and how, and that's the question I had, if we were thinking about specifically about Fortnite and these kids in the school, how do they set up a game? How do they, so I could invite a few people and they could invite a few people. That could take a while. So you do need to have a system. So for example, where they would go to one player or one player, let's say, and they follow that person. So that person puts in a little code, basically the code for the server, and everybody knows it's that person that's holding that code. So then they could link to that person or view their timeline. So like next Tuesday or tomorrow, there's going to be this game at 4:00, and the data will be on this guy's card, all right, on this guy's timeline. We have to have a way where lots of people can get the information quite quickly. Okay? Not broadcast. So I like the organic, but we definitely need a way to do things that are a little bit faster than here's 2 or 3 people and there two.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I have to come up with a use case for that. If we're going to build the next bit, what is the coding that I need for that? So that's slightly different than lit, but actually, well, maybe not.
Well, okay, so, and then that maybe ties into another thought, because the importance here, if you're going to go wholesale for this whole new idea, my feeling is the thing people are buying into when they say they would pay 10p or a penny or what have you, is with it in mind, implicitly or explicitly in the conversation, that the adverts disappear.
Yeah.
That whole corporate element disappears. Like the thing that I've got a problem with Spotify is oh, make your adverts disappear by paying £10 a month. It's like, it's not the point, you know. The point is that the artist at the end gets squeezed by the fact that they have both business models. So it's like having their cake and eating it, and it's mental. So
what? They're getting the money and they've got adverts.
Yeah, they get people's subscriptions and they have the advert income stream.
I know that is a problem that EcoSquared will face as well.
Well, no. So let me finish what I was trying to say. Is like the trust is only going to come, in my view, and this is why I like Lit and the not-for-profit kind of angle as well. It's separate from Delic. It's separate from EcoSquared to an extent. We can come into how they interrelate. But what people are going to want is that if they're opting for the thing where they pay directly, then everything else about it is the thing they're paying for is paying into not a new, but the purest way of doing things, which is open source, encrypted, you know, as fully blockchain or whatever distributed system you like that's best, as fully that as possible, because it needs to mirror. Like, it's always been the problem is like a mismatch between delivery and content, or like what's form and content or whatever. Like the major industry always, like, you need a major top-down industry to distribute vinyl around the world, but the contents of the vinyl, the music, is generally the message is don't be top-down. So that's the kind of big, clunky, nice, simple, cartoony example in my mind always, the major industry. But the same goes for people's personal decisions. It's like, well, if the content works on Spotify or X, Y, and Z, then fine. I'm kind of resigned to that. But many people have quite a percentage of their perception is annoyed by the fact they have to operate in that world.
Facebook, you're speaking to the converted. I'm definitely not interested in the current system. So, but if you've got we have alternative. All right. The trick is, how do we get the alternative working?
That's it.
So, we've had a conversation just on Friday. I've got a couple of little updates about what's happened in the week, and then got stuck into the content. What are we doing here? A bit of depth of the philosophy, as it were, the practices. But we have to think practically. Okay.
Let's get into the
reflect past. We kind of like preview the future, and this is just like one little short hour of going, whoa, wow.
So that, that's fine. Reiterating that message is good, because like you say with EcoSquared, you're saying if there's a tension between ad revenue and normal people revenue, then in my view, if you enter into that or even enter into that debate, you're compromising both sides in a way. So, let's move on to the practical very soon about Lit, and I'm not scared or worried in any way, but just from EcoSquared's perspective, why is that going to become a tension, the advert versus the paid for?
Oh no, it's just because people exploit. People, if they can get away with it, they will. So if they can raise, if you got a YouTube video, YouTube site, and you've stuck up your YouTube, you're being shared through EcoSquared, so you're getting money through EcoSquared, and yet you're also getting a little advert for YouTube, so people are being sent to YouTube and they're still having to look at adverts. So people are like, what? However, what they should do is use a provider, a video provider that doesn't put adverts up, okay, like Vimeo or something or other. Yeah. So because it doesn't matter, all right, because it's just a link on EcoSquared. So therefore, they can the user can modify their behavior so that it doesn't have adverts. But what I'm saying is that some people will. And if they do, however, again, the user just goes, still got adverts. I'm sitting there sharing his content. I think it's really good. And he's still giving me adverts. Bugger off. Okay, and that's, I'm not going to share this guy's stuff. I like his content, but he's still using adverts. They're rubbish.
Yeah. So I agree.
Always have power.
I think internally, though, I think that's the thing, and that's necessary for Lit as well, if you want to get a critical mass of interest, is like, and the same with Delic, there's something we've already discussed that's okay, that makes it okay, is Delic is a useful use case to solve the problem of monetization, so that YouTube and Spotify and the tiny amounts that you get from those sites, it's still an income stream. It's okay, we just are dealing with the thing that they're not dealing with, and therefore helping musicians get fair pay for their creations. And that, in a sense, that Eco Squared is doing the same, and that's why there's a potential compatibility there. But yeah, I mean, it should just be internally. Our internal philosophy for lit should be that open source encrypted thing. But it doesn't matter if people are sharing URLs from anywhere on the web.
Yeah.
And then the users themselves decide, like you say, that they don't like people sharing YouTube. They'd rather people shared on Steemit or whatever, because it's more.
Right.
But we don't get our bees in the bonnet about that. We're quite an agnostic platform in that sense, because we want to maximize sharing from anywhere on the internet. That's what we're doing.
But we still have to deal with some fundamental problems, which I'd like us to talk about maybe at some point in the next half an hour, 40 minutes.
Sure.
So some very practical things that have happened this week. Do you mind? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, you fire in, and I think my practical stuff is UX related. We can talk about that. I sent some messages through on the Trello to you about the mechanism on lit. That's what I'll talk about.
Okay.
You can tell me.
The small things. Okay, so a few small things. One is that right. So I recorded my video about Educare.
I saw that. That's good.
Yeah, I did it, and I've shared it with. I've only got a couple of people that I even vaguely know. Actually, very little contact with educationalists, because I was a peripatetic teacher. I would wander about different schools and very little contact with other teachers. So my professional contacts are terrible. And I haven't started to share it with organizations, but I might. But anyway, very, rambling video description, went on for about half an hour, but it's very honest and very genuine and explains bits of it and all this kind of stuff. So I got one response saying, "Oh, this is really good." And they're sharing it with a few people. You're like, okay, good. And then I thought, well, maybe I could create a website. Maybe I could create little videos of different content that I've produced, while I was doing this thing, different techniques that teachers could use. Mm-hmm. Also, it's taking time and everything else. And I think I might, but only if I get encouragement enough to go do this. It's like, okay, fine, give me some money. If it pays for itself, I'm happy to do it. But if there's no money in it, I can't do it. But it is education. It is what I was doing. It is valid. I think it's a good solution. So,
do you think that I really like it, Educare? I think it's Educare. It's really a brilliant idea. I absolutely loved it, and I think it solves a lot of the issues that, like you say at the end of the video, and you're leading to these cross silo solutions. It does exactly that. It's basically the way of creating a continuity and an almost team dynamic within a class that means that they can excel in a way that it suits them, is fun, and therefore it doesn't feel like school. And that's already the case with good teachers, right? That's the difference. You've got 10 subjects or whatever. One teacher's amazing. Everyone has an amazing time, learns way quicker than everyone else, all the rest. And they go to the next class and then they're bored.
Yeah. I know.
So,
but I found, very interestingly, that some of the best teachers were the most boring, all right, which is really odd. All right? I remember sitting in a class and it was like 20 minutes and I was like, wow, this is one of the most boring, the expression, the manner, sitting down, no activity, no physical activity, just like, oh my God. But the kids were really like, and I was like, what's going on? But bizarrely, the guy was asking questions, started asking questions, and then the kids were really like trying to answer. And I was like, what's going on here? And it was really, really weird. All right. So different people have completely different techniques. All right. For it to work. All right. And that's that feedback loop to the kids. That's the bit that's interesting. All right. Where you say, look, what is it with this guy? With this woman? Why is it this is interesting? And and different people have different attitudes about it. And so that's the reflective aspect. Call it reflective experiences. Exercises, but that's all useless if it doesn't actually reflect the actual current experience, and it has to relate to, and I think you need an adult to assist. They've already had the experience with the kids as well, so they can kind of assist the kids to formulate that, and they get better at it. And then all they do is they go, well, we like it this way or we like it that way. That's fine, but what works? What's getting the results? And that's slightly different, and it can be quite boring. That's okay if it gets the results.
Yeah.
You know, we can't have like excitement all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it's very interesting, very, very interesting experience that I've had. And that would be
Yeah.
part of the solution. So it's not just a matter of going, everybody copy what this exciting person does. No, not all of us
Probably
have
not.
that.
No, I agree. I agree. No, yeah. I suppose that's. I think it kind of does apply to the wider kind of question about value exchange. Like for example, the pupils always at school. You're always talking about your teachers in deep analysis about your teachers, right? But none of that analysis reaches your teacher.
Yes. What's that about?
And that's the thing, and it's because of an authoritarian, enculturated thing. And that a lot of people watching, if they watch this video, even they'll just be like, "That's just school, mate. Just get over it. That's kind of what you do. It's part of your coming of age." It's like it doesn't have to be actually, but the flip side is that you've got your classroom coordinator who creates a dynamic in which the class itself is generating momentum between subjects and seeing links between subjects and all the rest of it. If the classroom coordinator themselves, obviously it's a good training, it will be a good training, it will be held in high regard and all the rest of it, like teachers already are kind of thing. But depending who you talk to.
My facial expression was, what? I don't think so.
Depending if they're a good teacher or a bad teacher, like any other.
Well, oh, I see. Yeah, among students, yeah.
But it's a big amount of power, and then you could get a lot of. But I think that the thing that's against, like I'm saying, the fear is that if you get a bad classroom coordinator, the impact is higher than one bad teacher out of 10.
Oh yeah, no, you can't have a bad classroom coordinator.
Yeah.
That's not possible. We cannot have that happening. Basically, they get fired, they get kicked. You know, it can't happen. It just.
Well, the thing is, like, yeah, exactly.
It has to be even better. The doctors, all right. You know, it's like it has to work. If it's not working, you're not going to get employed again.
They're kind of the gurus, but what I like about them is the gurus who, and again, to say the point that counteracts the fear, is that if they're working, I mean, this is the nexus of the issue, but if they're working well, they are moving on after 3 or 6 months because they've done their job and the classroom's gained its momentum and it's established a spirit and a culture without it being helicopter teaching, you know. So that's really exciting. And then they go in for 3 months to the areas that are required. And initially, maybe if it gets rolled out, they do it in all areas of the school. Maybe in the future, it changes to some kind of formal thing where it happens. It's so encultured in the culture anyway that it's a different role. But anyway.
It's a facilitator role. That's the problem with our current society is we're not great at facilitator roles because we don't have the economic for facilitator roles. But if equal squared works, all right, if equal squared or lit, all right, any of this alternative system works, I think what will happen is that classroom coordinators effectively pay to actually teach because at some point or other it's their pension. Okay, they assist a bunch of kids to do really well, and then the kids go out in the world and actually, you know, produce bridges and produce computer games and blah, 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 and do lots of amazing things. And they thank the people that assisted them. Well, who are the people that thank most?
Yeah,
teachers. All right. So that money flow starts to occur in a very positive, forward paying system. So so we'll see. I mean, that's a long-term, large system change. I mean, education is, a couple of 100 years old. It's like core political football, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, the classroom coordinator does this one little thing, gets a bunch of kids working really well together. If that works, then we go, oh. And if we're also simultaneously playing around with equal squared, at some point or other, we start going, oh, wait a minute, we can, expand the horizon of what's the time where this money flow is being paid forwards. We're talking about a generation, basically. Mm-hmm. And so a generational pay it forward system. What the hell is that? I don't know, but by 2040 we might.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to mention it. But if you've got any other comments, that's great. If you've got any other ideas about how I go forwards with it,
I like the book. The book's quite cool. I mean, I think it just comes down to dividing, like for me as well, dividing time into the things that matter most to get to these things. Because I think having your list of content, like your little videos about what you've done, like Jack's as well, that's quite a cool idea. It won't suit everyone's sensibilities. Certainly not like hardcore underground musicians are going to probably hate it. But actually, I say that, and I'm not. I totally disagree with myself. I think some people.
It doesn't matter. Well, but okay, but here's the problem. Here's the problem. I started doing a few of these things. I did this maths one, and I started doing them, and I thought, okay, I'll do them all. And I've got like 4 or 5 things, 6 or something. And I was like, well, okay, start pushing a few videos. But sadly, because I'm an end node, I'm going to give it to the same people.
Yeah.
But the point of it,
Ruben's making a quick appearance.
it's another human being.
You say hi.
Hello.
Hello.
You say hi to David, yeah?
Hello.
Hello. And who's this? Who's saying hello?
Ruben.
Ben.
Ruben.
Ruben. That's
Remember,
right.
I'm on the other side of the computer screen, so you need to speak very clearly.
Ruben. Can you say that?
Ruben.
Thank you, Ruben. Well, Ruben, you're live, and when this goes, we make millions and millions, you're going to be famous.
Uh-huh.
I think Ruben could, you probably start playing a computer game at this moment.
I know, I play computer games.
That's what I thought. Any good ones? Oh,
Yeah.
So,
Tell me
Leanne's
one.
gone
Tell me
down
one.
to get some yogurt. So,
all right.
Ruben will be with us for a few minutes. Right, Ruben, we're talking crazy stuff. You want to listen?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So, sorry.
Oh, microphone.
Sorry.
Right. So I've recorded a whole bunch of things, and I was like, okay, share them. I do a bit equal squared as people self-select, so I know the people that are interested in XQ, I know the people that are interested in Educare, and I engage them. But right now, I don't have that. I don't have that group. I don't have these different segments, they call them. I don't care about segments. It's just the people I know that are interested.
Yeah.
Until that happens. So I don't know how to move with that, just because of me personally. I'm an end node socially.
Yeah.
The other problem, that's a massive spaceship. It's like a tower block spaceship with wings on the top and the bottom. Wings on the top. It's a biplane. Amazing.
It's a biplane skyscraper.
That is good.
We bid for some Lego to do a space city in our living room.
That's it. That's what it is.
But we lost the bid on eBay for like ridiculous amount of Lego.
Further back, Ruben. Further back, away from the camera, so I can see it clearer. I can't say something. I can't see it. It's tiny.
What is it, Ruben?
A fountain.
Yes, it could be. It could be a fountain.
A turning
Okay,
fountain.
Ruby, Mummy's back.
It's turning fountain.
Now that's really good. And the water goes squishing. God, brilliant.
Okay. Bye, Ruben.
Bye, Ruben. Here's the clue. Bye. But Ruben, brilliant. We should meet up in real life.
Yes, it will happen. So, possibly, well, maybe not on the 9th of June, actually. But anyway. So, okay.
Another thing, sorry, one other little bit. I mean, I just wanted to relate very quickly, and sadly these things go on. It's more just like these things have happened, but how do we go forward? So there's another thing that's happened. I met this guy who I've been kind of creating a game, kind of version of Eco Squared, a guy called Martin. And he's got a big house, kind of like a community house thing going on in a park. And he's got keys to it, and they've had it, and it's some weird council thing. And he's doing a TED Talk in it as well. So he said, do you want to do an Educare TED Talk? And I was like, okay, TEDx.
Nice.
Like, okay, but it's a small thing, but there's a whole community space there, and they're working out what to do with it. And I was like, let's talk. Because we've got, and maybe you've got some ideas, all right? Because big space, they do different things there.
Wow.
Maybe we can involve him, invite him into one of these chats, see what he says, because he needs to get things happening basically this summer.
All right. Okay.
Another thing is the guy who did the chill, the big chill.
Uh-huh.
He's doing his campfire thing, which is national little network. Well, network, but it's trying to be national. And he's wanting to move forwards as well. So there's a couple of possibilities, but the trick is self-organizing that. Because as soon as it becomes us organizing it, it starts getting too heavy
Yeah.
for any one of us. Whether it happens to be the guy with the community centre or the guy, Pete, who's doing the campfire thing, it just becomes too heavy for the person organising. You know this.
Yeah.
So the trick is, somehow or other, how do we get these things to go smoothly? And we have to demonstrate this with Prism. Because our thing with Prism is, it's us two doing it. Okay, putting a lot, reasonable amount of effort into trying to get even the website working.
Yeah.
But when people, if they want to start taking part, are we going to be ready for that? I don't think we are. And so what's the system by which that happens? And so if we can work it out for us, we effectively worked out for...
yeah. I thought, yeah, that's interesting. Is that one of the practical questions you've got?
Say again?
Is that sort of a practical question you have for this call kind of thing?
Yeah, because basically for next week or the week after, I think we should maybe invite them.
Yeah.
If they want to turn up and say, right, let's have a chat. But will it just be a big chat thing? And you're talking, I'm talking, they're talking. At the end of it, we just talk. And we're like,
I think what's quite cool, I actually had an idea about this, and it's a bit, I don't know, it's very pretentious. But basically, I don't know, you could have like closed prisms and open prisms where anyone can contribute. Like say Facebook Live, you already get reactions and comments about live videos. And that's the division line. It's whether you're appearing live in the video or whether you're commenting. However, if you embrace comments and you say, this is what the world is, this is what we have now, then you can have a way of speaking in the comments that actually doesn't, like trolling isn't a thing, for example, because like you have a system, a code system, maybe even logical symbols, where those who are participating in Prism and understand the concept of Prism speak with relation to, I don't know, this is the geeky. So you could starting point could be get people just to do comments, and you can do some analysis on the comments or sentiment analysis maybe with a tool, which we don't have. And therefore, like you say, it's all work, labor heavy. But if you come up with that idea, a coder watching this who's captivated and likes the idea might just go, right, yeah, here's a really quick, easy way of doing sentiment analysis, and it will help us share. And
I think we can just do things like what I just did, which is, this just means I've got an idea about it. I'm not stopping you from doing it, but this means stop now because I have to talk for whatever reason.
Okay.
So there's like little things that we could do, and I've seen electronic versions of this.
Yeah. So
effectively, So right now, if you were like, I thought of something, it's like, one. But if you really, really need me to stop, you put full hand up, and I just stop. That's my self-discipline. I stop. You're not stopping me.
Yeah.
Okay. The point is, nobody's stopping you. Everybody has to learn to have the self-discipline to stop themselves.
Yeah. That's great. Agreed. And I think the signs are quite good. I think as soon as it gets there's always a balance here. As soon as it gets too full of rules, that people start thinking the rules are primary, and then they lose the kernel. So the way we converse together is our voices generally, and you also do use your hands and stuff, but we'll talk over each other, and that will cause us to stop or not, Like, I don't think you should stop the flow of conversation itself, because that's the value of Prism as well. However, where you can't do anything, like I like this and I like that, and those are simple, but my emphasis is more with the comments, is where you cannot be here yourself saying things, where you're shouting at the computer screen on the comments section, you need a way to denote that, okay? But the point is, what was quite cool is, if you have a small code that does that from the community of people who are participating in Prism, they'll all know that, a right bracket means stop or I don't agree. And so you just write the minutes and seconds of where you are in the video and put a symbol or two. And then at the end, you can easily copy and paste, easily just, isolate the posts that have that in that sort of format. And don't even worry about the trolls. And everyone who's a troll, it says at the top of the video, if you have not used this format to comment in, your comment will be ignored or something.
Wow. Okay. No, that sounds interesting. But look, That okay?
Anyway, but some kind of thing. So you could have different types of Prism. If you have 100 people live, you might not get that far. It might just be filling the screen up when only 5 people speak in the end anyway. So actually comments does function as some kind of data collection opportunity. But it needs to be very immediate. It needs to be available almost instantaneously when the Prism's finished, and so on.
Yeah. Well, I will continue with YouTube, see if I can get that integrated, because that's got all the services that it should have. Right. Anything else that we have to talk about? So I feel as if it's a bit tricky. I thought this was going to be a bit easier, but it's actually trickier than I thought. It's partly my age and partly where I am, having kind of, the eco squared thing not like taking off and me going, oh God, trying to raise a bit more cash. And it's like,
yeah.
So I'm a bit like, so, but that's me up to date now. So what's going forward? Oh, the other thing was...
I've got the UX thing to interject at some point.
One's UX and the other one was critical mass. How do we get a bunch of people...
We've discussed this. I mean, I think very, very importantly from other areas of my life, I'm seeing this as well. And just previous conversations, when people, for example... If you're coming at something from, say, someone's taken out a massive loan and they're getting to the end of their time, and they've not floated the business or whatever it may be, they start speaking from their need, their sort of personal peril.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, there's a fine line there, and some people will be merciful, but in selecting out people who are only merciful, the merciful group of people are actually quite an unpredictable subset. So actually you're better to in terms of so that's a roundabout way of saying seeding the community that will start using Eco Squared is a job of patience that's not going to happen overnight. However, if you have these ideas like Jack's, obviously Delic's the same, but if we have some usable tools and we have these ideas, they're all there, rather than the network of ideas being empty. If you think about it, you've probably got 20 ideas, and I've got like 100 tunes on my mobile phone, but there's no problem with putting those things on and up and out there. The thing is, maybe with Eco Squared, because the app is quite moment orientated, which is a good thing, but you share something and that's it, it's there. But it's not represented anywhere afterwards to anyone else except the people you share it to. That's a major advantage in terms of quality content, I think. But it's a disadvantage in terms of longevity and future networking. So someone can't randomly find your idea and love it because you've closed it into 3 of your friends. So that's Delic obviously deals with that. I mean, Delic is the contributions, and we could put all of this stuff up on Delic today. It works, In fact, maybe that's a good idea. Like you can put the ideas there, and you can see, whether it's a melody or an idea for a song or an idea for an education program. If it's got media, it can go up, and your video could go up there, and then just put it out there and people can join it and all the rest. But so permanence is an issue, but maybe not an issue for the core functionality of something like Eco Squared, but apps could use it and implement their own version of permanence of ideas, the library of ideas.
Well, that's what I thought we could do with Lit, is we say, right, okay, let's just put things up there and see what happens. Yeah. And we have this process where we're reflecting what it is that we're doing. But we do have to, the only result, as I say, I've come up with is I've come up with the Educare thing video, shared it with a few people. XQ, I have done, but I've shared it. Oh, there's another one called Action Cycle, which you might be interested in. I'm going to share that with you. And that's to do with getting a bunch of people in a room and working together. So I'm going to be sharing that probably this coming week.
That's cool. I mean, just think of these things as like the momentums that is happening because you're doing it. And I think removing the worry is always a good thing, because diagnose the creative energy and what you want to share, regardless.
It's not. I've never worked. You see, one of the big things with the education thing was timing. Everybody talks about timing, and so the teachers would say, don't smile to the kids till Christmas, and I would go in there doing supply, and I have an hour. Okay, I have an hour to engage these kids, and basically what I want to do is get to the point where I'm sharing something with them that is the most important thing I could possibly share with them, and they're actually receptive. Okay, if I'm only going to see them for an hour, that's like, wow. Okay, that's a wow opportunity. If I'm ever, and I would say that at some point during the class, I say, like, if this is the only time I'm ever going to engage you, all right, because the world, I can't go, things happen, what can I possibly share with you that I can, or you share with me, that is like, this is it, okay? And the kids go like, oh yeah, that's true. What? Yeah, and they do wake up to the fact that it's this uniqueness, because kids are closer to that, the uniqueness of now, all right? But because of the schools and routines and mashing of brains and everything, but to actually go, but no, this is actually happening now. So you can turn that to your advantage. So the same, everything that I do in terms of even the eco squared stuff, it isn't this long-term thing you have to prepare, and eventually something happens. I kind of think, well, we built this thing and it actually can raise $1 billion in 3 hours. Okay, that's what it could do now. Okay, so it's a matter of going, look, if we just fiddle about it, and then it goes.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree. I agree.
Quite important.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's just then, in terms of what we're sharing now, that's a strategic decision that actually it's quite subjective. It's like, when are you ready? What do you need in place to share X, Y, and Z idea? If it's not about getting a library of stuff, which Delic's challenge is to get a kind of library of stuff, so that people just are able to navigate something and try it out, as on a demo basis, really, and then maybe momentum catches on organically from that. But with an idea, when you're sharing an idea or a link that could be explosive, then timing is key. And obviously Delic would fit into that by being a link that you could share. You can share a link to a whole work or a part on Delic, but you could share that in Eco Squared. So I can use that, for example, when something goes up, I could use it and use Eco Squared to share that. But let's move on to Lit, because I might prefer to share it on Lit.
Yeah, no, we definitely have to concentrate on the Lit. The Eco Squared thing is just this tool thing, and I'm working on that. Now it's yours, but it's the Lit thing. It's whether we can make that move.
So the UX for the Lit, right?
While you were talking, sorry, exactly, go on to that. But while you're talking, I was just sitting there thinking, if we have a YouTube video, and we have YouTube videos, or we have them on the website, we've got 1, 2, 3 different kinds of videos. We'll have the prisms. If we have within the chat button, which I think has disappeared, by the way. I don't know where it's gone, but the chat button seems to have disappeared.
All right.
Which is like,
on the website, on Lit.
Yeah, I thought I'd got everything. Various things have now reverted. I'm like, what's the point? I can't remember how I did these things. I managed to solve them, but it's like, oh God, I have to do it again. Anyway, the chat button. What happens if you have the different prisms? And so you could actually we could be chatting, all right, while we're recording this. I'm recording our comments in Prism 1. And anybody that's looking at Prism 1, if anybody ever will have looked at Prism 1, could go to that chat bit and actually add comments about that Prism. So we can actually, all the chats and the plans that we've got can be contained within that current chat button.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
Yeah. So we're kind of using Trello, which is okay, but that's just us two. Whereas we have to exploit what we've got, okay? Yeah. And what we've got is these very few.
So you're saying we have a chat room that people can look at? Yeah.
So right now, there's a Lit. What does it look like? Right now, there are 3 rooms. I have to log in. There are a few rooms, and one of the rooms is Lit. Whereas what I could do is create a prism for each new prism, or that week's prism, as it were. And so we could chat through that. or that for that Prism. I don't know. DC. We have to make use of this chat thing.
Yeah, that's good.
For whatever reason, on the website, it's gone.
Okay, so people could use that to comment on.
It's gone. It's not there. Yeah. And so they can comment about, if we're doing a Prism about the past, future, we can write on it. That's number one. But also anybody else later on, even retrospectively looking at it, can chat on it. Because it's the live engagement of that content. The content becomes static. Once it's just finished and recorded, it's finished. It's historic.
Yeah.
Right? But the chat is still live about it. The people that are engaging it.
But there's comment. I mean, we could have comment like, yes, and I see the advantage in terms of using it, using chat, the chatwe button and the interactive aspect. But you've got comments. We've got comments on the lit page for each Prism as well. So, and there's also YouTube itself. So, like, what we're dealing with here is again a UX problem of multiple sites, fragmented, but value on every platform. Every platform has value. So maybe what you say is, don't bother using YouTube at all. Instead of say, just we ignore the comments on YouTube. But that means that it's a pure public forum almost by saying that. Or you just say nothing, just leave it to be YouTube. Then on your own site, you have maybe, I don't know, like comments, there's some geeky logic idea. And then you've got the chat. So there's three different things. So you either close comments on the site and say, just use the chat. If you do that, people have to join the chat. There's a few barriers to actually entry, but you get people who are most passionate about the idea who actually join. So that for me is encapsulated in the mission we have with Lit itself, which is to make sharing good things as effortless as possible and as viral as possible, whilst including the transaction of real value, i.e. money, in the form of credits. So Lit. So let me tell you my UX idea for Lit. Sorry to kind of...
No.
I think it railroads kind of sensibly or elegantly, like it's an elegant railroading into the UX point that I have. But at the same time, I think it's relevant to all of that stuff. And then let's come back to the practical thing at the end. By the end of the Prism, we'll come back to the practical way that we're going to use Chatwe, etc. Right? Let's do that. But first, Lit. The thing I wrote down on Trello at quite a lot of length was again a bit. It's all UX eureka stuff here. Realizing that the different, like, to remove friction from the idea of sharing content, any content from the internet, hitting the Lit button and sharing it with X, Y, and Z people, or a group, like, to be decided, how we do groups and how things work. But one thing one division to remove from my point of view is this idea of a different rating for how much thanks did you feel versus how much credit did the person give you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it needs to be, the ripple needs to just fly through the network directly without a second thought about how much you want to thank someone. Especially at the moment, given that thanks rating is 1 to 10, so it's abstracted from the value of the credit. So my first move on this one would be to say, I'm passing 100% of this credit on straight away by sharing it because I really agree with it and like it, and I want it to pass through the network to the next stage to someone who might want to even add value. So that's the sort of baseline, is 100% share. But if you really like it, you go 200% share because you want to spend at least as much money as that person spent on you sharing to you in appreciation of the quality of the content. That means you shared 200 credits instead of the 100 they shared you. And that's the gratitude already, because they are feeling raving about this content. So you equally rave about it. So you want to add another 100. And then that goes to, say you shared that 100, that 200 by splitting it and sharing it with two people, then you've created a small network effect. And if everyone does that, you'll end up getting the natural value of that thing. There's other issues there because you might want to share it with 20 people. But the point is, we need defaults where it's easy to share immediately, I think. But there is still that thing of quality of sharing and curating who you're sharing it to maximize, which it does, maximizes the chance of it being shared onwards. So
call it
lit. Yeah.
We can even call the units lit. But
yeah. Okay. So
100 lit, and you go okay, and then wait, what's the thing called? Light, the measurement of light, lumens.
Oh yeah, cool. That's quite good. Lit. Yeah, I think lit and light. I think lighting something is good. Like you light something, and then it's lit once you've clicked share. But the challenge for me that I think I cover successfully in this Trello post, which you can read up on.
I have.
Okay. The challenge for me.
Basically, what you're trying to say, I think, as far as I understand, is that have absolutely no friction. Okay. So right now with Eco Squared, all right, it's meant to be a dashboard to the whole system. All right. So it's not meant to be. It's meant to be quite efficient, but it's got all the functions. Yeah. I thought lit is like basically going right. Just this. That's what I thought it was. You're sharing. It just goes lit. I've lit this, and it's sharing, and that's it. That's it. Right. Whereas you're saying, well, don't even have thanks and everything else. It's like, well, I know that, but in Eco Squared it will.
Yeah.
At some point, maybe you'll get rid of it, but I think it actually makes sense. But you're saying just concentrate on the sharing. And as far as I could understand what you're saying, include a percentage of that as gratitude to somebody. That's what I thought you were suggesting. So that you're sharing outwards, but part of that is a bit of it's going to the person who gave it to you. Okay.
I think I've added to that post since you read it, I reckon. Because that's exactly the thing that I don't think is necessary. It's not paying backwards at all. Good. What it's doing is the gratitude is the credits. It's essentially the spent credits in a way. Like the gratitude, you see how far the person at the beginning of the tree sees how much other people have shared and maybe even gets that as some kind of metric of gratitude on their profile, but it doesn't equate to money. It's just shows the influence they've had in the network in sharing that thing.
So basically purify it right down to basically you lit it, and that means share it forwards with the credits given to you, share it with other people. That's it. That's all it is. And then you're talking about effectively second order processes, which is to analyze how many things have gone out, and therefore you feed that information back to the previous person. You say, in effect, you have that. In my language, that's influence.
Yeah, okay, influence.
I've shared with 2 people, and then they share with 45 million, and you go, "Oh, I'm at the root of this 45 million."
Yeah, wow. And what's cool about that is if someone, celebrity or whatever, gets hold of the content through the network, which was nothing to do with you, it still is to do with you in that it came through you first, and you were the person who shared this original content, and that's what's lovely about that kind of thing. So you see the viral influence, and but also so you see the viral influence, but that's kind of secondary. Mainly, it's the fact that there's no money going backwards, so it's all going forwards through the network out into its maximum value created, and the only challenge then is that once you've lit it and shared it, the only challenge for the next person is to sort of share, because they've still got more work than normal than just tweeting. They've still got more, well, I don't know, we need to work that out. But if they're sharing to, say, 5 people, they need to think who they are. So you want to minimize any other UX that they have to do.
I agree. I mean, I thought that I defined it as clearly as I could, which is you tap the button, you see the list of people, you go tap, 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 those people, bang. That's it. And it takes care. If we're doing automatic amounts and all this kind of stuff, 1 credit and that's it.
Yeah. So you can still click. You can still click and change. You could say, I want to share less forward.
But that's secondary. If you want to go for the absolute minimum, that's all being predetermined. You just click on people, boom. It could be as fast as that, and that's what it is. All right. If you want to then say, right, as I've done with Eco Squared, you say, well, I would like it, you could share within a certain range or any amount. I can change the amount. Oh, okay then. That kind of thing. That's an extra bit. But again, if you've got the money to build it. But the most basic thing is, here's the list of people, tap, 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 multiple people, gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even Eco Squared, we don't have that. With Eco Squared, it's tap, one person, tap, one person, tap. It's like, oh my God, I want tap, 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 boom. Okay. I think you're right. I mean, that's it. Just go for pure share, da, 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 da. These other things, I think, are the features, modifying, and then you have to work out who gets to change the amount.
Yeah.
Is it the user? Is it the content creator?
Mm.
That's the whole point about the range and the fixed amount.
Yeah.
That, there's a negotiation kind of going on there between the user and the content creator.
There's a value in, but this again, it's UX. The UX is the message. Like, is there a value in adding? Say they give you 100 credits.
Yeah.
Is there a value that when you hit lit in the way we set it up automatically, that automatically you add 100 rather than automatically you just send on the same 100? So automatically, because we need to work out what if it is just one hit of the button.
If it's one hit of the button, and if you tap one person, it's the amount that was given to you. That's easy. All right. So if somebody's giving you 10, 100, doesn't really matter. Bang.
So if you tap two people, it's 200. And if you tap two people.
Yeah, exactly. But that has to show you. By the way, if you tap two, it'll show 200. You're like, oh, wait a minute. I don't want to add that amount.
Okay, that's cool. So then the secondary processes are things like if you want to say split that 100, Ruby. Can you close the door, Ruben? We'll be done soon.
He was a little rebel.
Yeah. So yeah. So okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's organic. That's good, because I was worried about sharing, say, to 3 people, but wanting to give them 33 credits each rather than. Do you know what I mean? Or like splitting it that way, but that would be a secondary process within your advanced settings. You'd just be like,
we could have, we'll have that one version, which is just the amount that comes in every time you touch person, it's the amount going out. Mm-hmm. So you get told that. And the other one is it splits it up. So do it in bunches. So, if you're given 100 and you choose 2 people, it's 50 each. Oh, okay. But that means you have to do one person tap, another person tap. If you want to have the same amount. So those two ways of doing it. I think different users will prefer one.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like, how much do you actually give in that widget to say, because actually the other interesting aspect here is that the traction of the app itself does come down to how much choice you give them. But you're right. I think because like if there's a choice between sharing, 50 to 1 and 25 to 2 other people, some people want to do that, and some people want to understand the share. If they want to share to more than one person, they intuitively think maybe it's fine to then charge twice, 3 times, 4 times, depending on the amount of people. I like that one. I think that one's a good one.
But what we can always do is that people, if they want to have more detail, they go to Eco Squared.
Yeah, they'll log in.
Eco Squared is meant to be is the dashboard. The lit button is meant to be, this is what this does. Boom. It's really fast, really elegant. That's what's happening.
Okay.
And it does the sharing, people coming in. The one bit, and then if they want more details, then hit the Eco Squared. You go to your dashboard. You can fiddle about. You can change the amount. You can fiddle basically. But the lit, I thought, is basically it's lit. I'm lighting it. It's lit. It's big. We have to keep to that level of simplicity.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry.
I've got a question. You've got a question. I've got one. So you go first.
The question I have still is: have we resolved this issue of the money? People. So hopefully we can get the third-party integration. So you get notified by a phone. So you're going to get a phone notification. John, Ed has lit this website. You're like, okay, and it's on my phone notifications. I just tap on the notification, and I go to the website. Okay, great. I go to the website. If I go to the website, there should be a lit button there. Great. So I hit the lit button, and then I can share it. It was easy. Okay. The trouble is, what happens if you want to share a site that doesn't have a lit button?
Well, that's where we need our lit app and all those other things. But
I know, but I'm wondering if we don't have an easy answer for that. I know that we've got different solutions.
Yeah.
We have to write that down. We have to write down. This is the easiest.
Yeah.
We have the easiest solution. Don't worry. It's no problem to me. Absolutely no problem.
Yeah. Me too.
Absolutely no problem.
That's good.
If you have
concentration, so I'm just going to give hold that thought. Give me a sec.
Tie him up! Tie him up! Put him in the corner! A minute, this is recorded. I don't mean that. Oh God, politically correct. That's what we want to do with politically correct.
Sorry, I didn't realize the time.
Yes, right.
So it's now past
20
11,
past.
20 past. Wow, that was time flies. Okay, so right. So then, I agree. My only other question on this one is also to do with the concept of followers sharing to a following rather than to direct to several people, because the several people thing, it is time intensive, but it is, as we've discussed, quality intensive as well. It's got lots of quality to the idea of individual sharing. That might be something that's a longer discussion, but the lit button, we've got some way on the UX with that chat now.
Well,
I think we should revisit that because there's so much about it. But have you got a thought on the idea of followerships, like Twitter?
Well, there is meant to be one of the things where you can see another person's timeline, so you can effectively follow other people. But currently, right now, it's your future objectives. So because you've agreed that you're interested in a specific objective in the future, you're working with a bunch of other people that are also interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
You're not following them, you're following what your objective is, and they're also following a mutual objective.
Okay.
And that's what a project is.
Yeah.
So when you see a list of people, even on Eco Squared right now, you can filter it by project, and you will see the list of people, even if you've never engaged them before. All right, you will see a list of people, and so that's how the thing will be sorted. It should be by the people you've interacted with most recently, just by chronologically. It should correlate to your mind's activity.
Yeah.
Who did I last engage? Right, that top person. And then I sort it by, in Eco Squared, it's by project.
That makes sense. So it's what you're following. Right. That's quite nice. But Lit's a bit different because it's not really dealing in projects. It's more that actual act of sharing.
It is a good way to sort, though. It is a good way to sort people. I think it's to do with your future objectives. So it's not just a group of people that are static. It's the people that are with you trying to achieve something. So
you can, and also what that's good for is that you could click 1, 2, 3 projects. You could be like, I'm sharing to this individual. I'm also sharing to project 1, project 2, and project 3 because it's relevant to them.
If that's what I was talking to you last week, and I came up with that, and you were, we could check this. It's been recorded.
That's cool.
And I came up with the idea of, and it was most recent version, so it was like, this could work. Is you share, right? I want to share 3 times with that project.
Yeah.
Which means that you put that amount of money in the sharing, and those people in that project the first 3 could pick it up, as it were. So it's not you're doing it directly at the individuals. You're kind of saying ahead. So say there's 10 people going towards this project, and you say, right, I can afford to share it 3 times with this project. All right. Okay. And so you put it there, 3 things, and then those people have a bunch of stuff, and they can take them or not. If they take them, they take the money. All right. And so you've got like stuff put ahead. It's a bit annoying, I think, but it resolves this issue of you're trying to share it with a bunch of people, but we don't want to.
There could be a pot. I think if you share with a project, you could. I mean, different things there. Like you could, because you're sharing it with the people who are in the project who are interested in the link. Is different from sharing with people who are going to do some work. I don't know.
That's the difference between a project and a what you're saying is.
So if you share it with a project, the project should share it forward, but it's not going to. Only people. What you're doing is you're alerting the project to a link, and then whoever's in the project who grabs it and shares it, it becomes a participant. But anyone can do that. You don't have to make it spent after the first person does it. What you're doing is you're sharing. Say you've got a line in the chat we button, say, chatwee style thing, lit button. You've got individuals, and then like on Facebook, when you're inviting people to an event, you also have groups that you're part of. So in this lit button, it would be a list of people and then projects, right? Okay. If you share with 3 people up there, fine. And then you share with 1 project, then what you're doing when you share with 1 project is you're sharing to everyone in that project. The only question is how much of your lit is, how much of the credit is going to everyone in the project. That's your question.
Yeah, no. But then you're talking about spam, because you can have like, 100 people and they're getting, loads of people. It's just, that's what Twitter is. People are just getting spammed with information.
But you click, because the point is that it's relevant to the project. So it goes in.
Well, it's meant to be, but that's what, look.
But that's why
That's what happens professionally. People get like 150 emails every Monday, and they're just like, "Oh, this is meant to be stuff that's meant to be relevant to me." And it's like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
We want to stop that.
Are you saying you just do 1 lit to the project, and whoever does find it useful grabs it? Because can't you just let?
So basically, there's almost like an automatic timer.
Can't you let anyone who finds it useful grab it though? Because then you're
No, because, well, what we'll do, what the person will do is, if, for example, it's me, all right, so you shared something and there's 10 people in this project and you've only shared it once with the project, and I grab it, and I'm the first because I have to be there, and I'm like, there's something, right, grab it. Okay, so I grab it, look at it, and I think, oh, it's great, put it back. I basically share it to the project again. There it is again. Okay? And if I think it's really valuable and I think other people really need to see this, I will share it twice with the project to increase the number of people that are going to take this up, within the project. Okay. I think it's quite neat. I think
that's quite neat, and it accords with the idea of the same chunk going to users and the same chunk going. It's just a way of directing the lit into a network that's more interested than other people in your network or the world. Like, that there's a project going on that you're part of that you'll find it interesting. That's why it's just whether the project itself can get funded by, I don't think so.
Interesting. I thought of another interesting bit. If you keep on like spamming and putting a huge amount of stuff, not that you would, okay, if I was putting a huge amount of educare stuff, education, and it's about, your beer, the decagram, right, bang. It's about beer, and I'm sitting there going, oh, educare, and you're like, what the hell, David?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
What you can do is you can accept it. You can accept it, take all the money, and don't share. Okay, which means I'll get the idea. I'll go, oh, Ed, I've noticed, okay, I've been sharing a lot of stuff into, your decagram, thing. I've been moving that forward. It's all about educare. It's not about the beer. I'm like, oh yeah.
No, that's quite good.
So you can clean it. You effectively garden it by taking stuff that you go, right, and you don't share it means
that's
it's wrong stuff. If you do share it, it means it's a good thing. I think it could work. We'll see. But I think that's the most elegant way to share with a group of people.
I think I've just had a totally random visit by my mum, so I think I'm going to have to stop this thing.
Okay.
Hey.
That's not your mum.
No. Yeah. Hi, Mom. Cool.
Right, it's been okay. It's been kind of a bit mad. We're still not
okay.
I think we have to get down to efficiency.
Should we get when we do the sorry, the bank holiday fact has taken over. But what I would say, Ruby, give me a sec. What I would say is if we get just the blurb on Prism 2, just to get some of the outputs. UX, we progressed. I think we progressed a lot. It's just we didn't finalize much.
Okay, let's see what happens. Try and do as much as you can. Tidy up those bits. I'll try and tidy them up again this week. All right, the banner bit, get rid of the banner bit.
But the UX, just on the Prism itself, I think like the site's one thing, but we can just keep going because, like you say, it's not the world isn't watching yet. But
no, God, they'll look back at us and go.
Yeah, but when we start getting people in to talk with us and stuff,
we definitely need that. So also, one thing to put on your agenda, I can't do Mondays. Mondays are not great for me.
Okay.
A timing clash here at this side.
That's
so
okay.
Tuesdays are better if you can manage.
Tuesdays. Cool. I think that should be fine. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. But yeah, we can sort that on Trello. Okay, great. That's everything for now. Yeah, and then we'll get onto just do some stuff on the page to make it make sense.
That's right. I haven't heard updates about what you did with your music stuff, apart from saying you've done it or something. I was like, okay, but I haven't seen it.
I just listed tracks from an album that I have ambitions to do one day.
Okay, there we go. But is that somewhere? Are you sharing that?
That's on Trello at the moment. So
okay.
I think this week.
I think between this week and next week is, say what we're going to do, then try to do it, and then we go, did it work, and is it going anywhere? So effectively, it's like little seeds, little kernels going, or rays. And if anything of those go forwards, then we say this is going forwards.
Yeah.
The idea is, I think, is simultaneous processes. We put stuff out there, and it's not our job to move it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not our job to push. It's just like, well, the rays have been put out, and then it's about just monitoring them and seeing what other people are doing, and then seeing how they're related. But we do have to have sort of those rays out there, flashing out there.
Yeah. That's why the permanence aspect is important. I mean, yeah, I think I might share mine on Delic. I'll see.
Yes, just go ahead. It doesn't matter on the quality and professionalism. It's there, and we've got some way of linking to it. And we say, right, these things have been done.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's to put them out there in order for people if they wish to pull.
Yeah. Totally cool.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Till the next time. Sorry about all the interruptions.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. Lovely.
It was good. Yeah. I think so. But yeah.
We'll
Awesome.
engage online again over the week. Next week, we'll see. Hopefully it'll be a bit smoother. We'll see.
Perfect. Awesome.
Ciao.
Till next time.